All right, today we're going to take a deep dive into advanced micro devices, AMD. But we're not going to do it like the talking heads on TV shouting about stock prices. Nope, we're going to look at this like we're business owners, using the amazing principles from Buffett and Munger's accounting mastery to find out what's really going on under the hood.
To do that, you first have to understand these two characters. On one side, you've got the poet. Think of this as the company's accountant. Their job is to write a story, a nice story, called net income, using all sorts of rules and estimates. But on the other side, you've got the teller. The teller doesn't care about stories. They work at the bank vault. They only care about one thing, cold, hard cash. Did money actually come in, or did money go out? Simple as that. Today, we're looking at AMD through the teller's eyes.
So let's start with the poet's version of events. The accountants told us that AMD made a profit of $1.51 billion. And hey, on its own, that's a really solid number. It's a nice, clean story about a profitable company. But it's not the whole story.
Now let's bring in the teller for the reality check. The actual free cash flow, the real spendable cash left over for the owners, was $2.08 billion. Whoa, wait a second. Do you see that? The cash that actually hit the company's bank account is way higher than the profit the accountants wrote down. This is super unusual, and you know what? It's an incredibly good sign.
There's actually a name for this phenomenon. We call it the golden signal. It's when the teller's truth is even better than the poet's story. It usually means a company is so incredibly efficient that the standard accounting rules actually make it look less profitable than it really is. This is rare, folks, and it's a huge sign that you might be looking at a top-tier business. So the big question is, how are they pulling this off?
Well, the secret lies in what's called the Fabless model, and we can break this down with a really simple pizza shop analogy. Imagine two pizza joints. Shop A decides it has to own everything. It builds its own super expensive brick ovens, buys all the delivery trucks, the whole shebang. Shop B, on the other hand, is smarter. It just focuses on creating the world's most amazing pizza recipe, and then pays another company to use their ovens to bake the pizzas. Well, AMD is Shop B.
And that simple idea is how AMD avoids what the book calls the capital expenditure treadmill. They don't own the multi-billion-dollar factories, the fabs, that actually make the chips. They let companies like TSMC handle that headache. This means AMD isn't constantly running on a treadmill, burning through billions just to maintain and upgrade their equipment. The result? Absolutely elite efficiency. Think about it. For every $10 of cash they made from their business, they only had to spend about $1 on equipment. They just get to pocket the rest. It's incredible.
Okay, so a company is a cash-generating machine. Great, but that leads to maybe the most important question of all. What did they do with all that money? This is the ultimate test of a management team. Are they smart with your capital, or do they just waste it?
Well, AMD ended the year with a massive war chest of over $10 billion just sitting in the bank. That right there is a sign of incredible strength. It gives them power, flexibility, and a huge cushion against any rough patches. But what they didn't do with this money is even more revealing.
In the last quarter, they spent exactly $0 buying back their own stock. A big fat nothing. Now, you might hear that and think, wait, isn't that a bad thing? But actually, it's a sign of brilliant discipline. See, most CEOs are totally obsessed with their stock price. They'll light billions of dollars on fire buying back shares at crazy high prices just to prop it up.
AMD's management team took one look at their high stock price and basically said, you know what? No thanks. That is not a good use of our owners' cash right now. We'll just save it. That tells you everything. They're thinking like long-term business owners, not short-term stock gamblers. They're saving their financial firepower for a much better opportunity down the road.
All right, now let's shift gears and look at the business itself. Every great company has a moat, right? A competitive advantage that keeps rivals away. AMD's moat is definitely real, but it is changing right in front of us. And to really understand what's happening, we're going to use a powerful mental tool from the book called inversion.
Just look at this. The shift in their business is dramatic. The data center part of their company, that's the chips that power AI and the cloud, it's absolutely exploding. We're talking almost 40% growth. But at the exact same time, their older gaming business is actually shrinking.
So let's apply inversion. Instead of just asking what's growing, we flip the question and ask what's dying. The new moat, the entire future of this company, is clearly in data center and AI chips. And that old business, the chips for your PlayStation or Xbox, is kind of becoming a dying limb. If you invest in AMD today, you're not really buying a gaming company. You're buying a pure-play AI infrastructure company.
So let's put it all together. We've established that AMD is a high-quality, super efficient, and really well-managed business. That's a fact. But that brings us to the final and most critical question of all. What is the business truly worth, and is it a good investment at today's price?
To answer that, we have to talk about intrinsic value. This is not the stock price you see flashing on a screen. Intrinsic value is the true underlying worth of a business, based on all the cash it's going to give back to its owners from now until the end of time. It's what the business is worth, not what people are paying for it.
So when you buy any stock, you're always in one of three zones. Zone 1 is buying below what it's worth. We call that a margin of safety. That's like buying $1 for 50 cents. Zone 2 is buying it at its fair value, a fair deal. But Zone 3 is buying above its intrinsic value. You're paying a premium. And right now, AMD is living squarely in Zone 3.
Let's put this into perspective with a really simple test. As of right now, the earnings yield on AMD's stock is about 2.1%. That's kind of like the cash return you get for the price you pay. At the very same time, you could buy a boring, ultra-safe government bond and get a guaranteed return of 4.5%. Think about that. You are accepting less than half the payout for something that's way riskier. Why would anyone do that? Well, they're betting, and betting heavily, on a lot of future growth.
And that brings us to the final verdict. AMD is a wonderful business. It passes our tests with flying colors. The accounting is honest, the operations are crazy efficient, and the management thinks like owners. But the price tag the market has slapped on it is extremely optimistic. It's priced for perfection, leaving absolutely no room for error and no margin of safety.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The single most important question an investor can ever ask is this a great business? We know AMD is. The real question you have to ask is it a great investment at this price? Knowing the difference between those two questions, well, that's the key to protecting your money over the long haul.